I was a former member of the armed forces in the
Okay.
United States Army.
Yeah.
United States Army, and I spent 2 years over there, and 6 months of that I was deployed to Kosovo.
Okay. So yeah, I was 9 years Navy intel, man. I know a lot of Army dogs that went through Germany, man. So yeah, that's okay. What I thought it might
There
a
you go,
path to
buddy.
go through. All right.
I always in this field too. I always seem to run across former vets. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is with you, but I always run across vets, and we always have that connection. So,
Yeah.
I mean, other than you being like a sea guy,
Yeah.
we're
Well, it's all
okay.
right. Yeah. I mean, I was on land. I was on land the whole time, man. So yeah. So yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. So yeah.
okay.
My kid just got back from Germany. He went over. He just literally got back on Sunday night, man. He went over there. Him and some buddies went over there for like just 14 days. Did like this Euro thing, man. They went all over the place, and so that was pretty cool. All right, man. Cool.
Yeah, man.
10 acres. Escape the woohoo, right? And I like how you think. So real quick, man. So hot topic, Tom. Like I said, we bounce around. Right before I came on here, literally right when Enigmites, like I said, he was supposed to be on the schedule a little while ago, but we made some, schedules weren't syncing up. But when I was emailing him today, I was getting texts at the same time about the JFK files that just dropped, right? And
Right.
my buddy was telling me that at around an initial announcement came out saying, no, they're not going to be dropped today. Lawyers are going to review each page or whatever. And then like literally like 60 seconds later, like they're out. And one of my guys is on there. It's on the website now. You can go get it right now, right?
I'm going right after we get off.
Yeah.
I'm going.
And he's pulling them down for me as well, right? So I think it's one big giant PDF, man. But so anyways, let me get your thoughts on that, right? So what do you think? Obviously, right? Like this is if you don't know what the story is about, Nick, there was a president, JFK, was supposedly, they'll say, the most popular president ever based on his numbers. He was extremely popular, and he was assassinated in Texas. I can't remember the exact city. Tom, do you remember the city?
Dallas.
And for the longest time, they would try to tell you that it was a lone gunman scenario. The guy was in a book repository and wore him out, right? Lee Harvey Oswald would be the name that they said he would do it, right? No one ever believed it. So supposedly the files got dropped on that today. So Tom, let me get your thoughts, man. What do you think is going to actually be in those files, man? Let me get your theory on that.
Well, I just went through the video with MK Davis. If you guys know who he is, he's the one that kind of like still framed and like figured out the Patterson Gimlin film and broke it down and showed me the braid on the hair and all stuff that I didn't even know was there. So the first thing they're going to find out according to MK, I got to look at it myself, of course, is that 2 shots hit him at the same time because as he was pointing out, when a bullet goes through the air, it creates a vector of a V, like when it breaks the air. So in this particular area, you can see where there's 2 coming together. And so I think it's going to be 2 shots were fired at the same time. I don't know, man. I have my theories on it. Like, again, we're kind of shooting in the dark here. And since the information is out, it's really all odd. But that he tried to end the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
He was the president right after Eisenhower, who had his infamous State of the Union address coming out talking about the industrial complex taking over our democratic what do they call that, processes.
Yeah.
To be careful with that. I think there was the Bay of Pigs incident. I think the CIA, as well as maybe the Mafia and the Teamster Union, which are kind of connected, were involved. I think there was quite a few characters. So, like when it comes to the CIA, when they were trying to do with Fidel, I think to just once he said, "Hey, we're changing the money and taking it out of the Federal Reserve," which you guys know is not like my buddy here just said is not an institution that's even federal. As far as I know, it's at least 8 separate private banks, which is very strange if you think about that. Yeah. And he took that out. He took the note. It was actually, if you look, if you can find it, was actually red notes or red bills that were in the early 60s. And so I just think he just caused too much funk, which makes me wonder about the current president. He did have an attempt, but he should be very careful right now because I think the same forces that took out John Fitzgerald Kennedy are probably, on the heels of Trump here.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's a very good segue to go into it. So my theory is well, I mean, what I've had this conversation with several people, man, and I try to point some things out too, right? He had a mistake, right? And what the mistake that he actually made, right? He had very, very good intentions. He pissed everybody off that was evil at the exact same time. And I'll even tell you what he did, right? So exactly what you said. He wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve, right? So right there, he was going against the Rothschilds, satanic Freemason cult. He also gave a speech about how secret societies are terrible.
Right.
Right. He went right.
I forgot about that.
And so what did he do right there? He roped in the Freemasons. His father was a notorious bootlegger during Prohibition, and he cut a deal with the mafia to get the Catholic votes that he needed as long as he laid off the mafia. But his brother, Bobby, was the district attorney, started going after the mafia. LBJ hated him. His VP hated him, right? He also had a very, very bad relationship with J. Edgar Hoover, who was a homosexual, right? For the FBI, right? And at the exact same time that was going on, Marilyn Monroe was talking about aliens and stuff like that she was going to release, and this was his fatal flaw right here, and it's making the rounds today. He flat out told Israel they could not have a nuke, right? And so he pulled in the Mossad, right? And so this is what happened immediately after his assassination, right? Immediately, LBJ becomes president. He gives Israel a nuke. 4 weeks later, you have the USS Liberty incident where
wasn't his first. I'm sorry, wasn't his first executive order to end the Federal Reserve change? Wasn't that his first executive
you're probably
order?
Right.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.